if you guys are not doing this, there's no way we could do this. So really, thank you. I know every time I meet you, I'm giving you something more to do. But if you can get them to write even 3 or 4 sentences and send them back to you on any of the questions or any part of the question. Like today, we're going to just have 2 questions, and they are going to be like, like real answers, not one-line answers. So if you can get them to write anything and send it back to you, that would be a great way for them to also improve. So we're back to prose. Poetry is over. And here we have, for the first time, I'm actually going to read the introduction, because I feel there's some couple of important things in the introduction which could well come in questions later on, and in any case gives a really good background for everybody to understand what he's speaking about. I thought it was going to be really boring, this chapter, and so I've been avoiding it. But I was happily and very pleasantly surprised when I read it that it isn't boring at all. So good. So Venkateshwaran Iyer, Venkat is of course the short form of his name, born in 1966. This is not important, but however, science graduate and a certified project management professional. He last worked with IBM in Mumbai as a project manager for software implementation. That's important, he was in Mumbai. After 17 years in the IT industry, he quit in 2004 to live on his organic farm in Peth village in Dhanu Taluka, Palghar district, Maharashtra. Okay, that's fine. The only thing important here is his organic farm, and that point's going to be taken up by Rakshita when I finish the introduction. His book, Moong Over Microchips, here's your first question, okay, traces his transition from techie to farmer over a period of 15 to 17 years. It was not a career change, but a lifestyle change I was looking for. Please, that's important again. He says about his decision to shift to the quieter environs of a village, surroundings of a village, okay, the quieter environment of a village. He insisted on practicing organic farming from the outset. He was resolute, he was steadfast, he was firm, he had decided in his mind that this is the only kind of farming that he was interested in pursuing. So he was resolute in spite of numerous challenges which he faced. Today, not only does he deliver lectures on organic farming, but also has joined hands with organic farmers and NGOs working in the organic field to propagate organic farming, to further the cause of organic farming, to again, these are quotes from his books, ensure that the land at least is not ravaged while they try to make a living out of agriculture. So important here is that this man, who is obviously well qualified and doing really well and living in Mumbai, everybody's dream, gives it all up to go and live on a farm which he owns in some rural area, not important where. It was not a career change, but a lifestyle change I was looking for. Okay, so it's not that he didn't like his job or he didn't like IT or was bored or blah, blah. It was a lifestyle change that he was looking for. And the name of this book, which he has written, the name is Moong Over Microchips. Microchips, we all know, is the IT industry. Moong, you will realize when you read the chapter, why Moong. So that is all I wanted to say. Ensure that the land at least is not ravaged while they try to make a living out of agriculture. Now, modern agricultural practices have a heavy reliance on fertilizers, pesticides, machines, as we all know. And modern practices have 2 aims: to get the most amount of produce out of the field. So the biggest crop that you can get, right, which is resistant to pests, which grows abundantly so the farmer can make more money, and to give multiple crops in a year. with the least water, right? So this is what the new generation, the hybrid seeds, the hybrid crops are positioned today to do. But unfortunately, they also come with a lot of disadvantages. Here he says that the land is not ravaged. What is to be ravaged? To destruct, to destroy something. But if I just take this book and I scratch all over it, I'm destroying it. Okay. But to ravage this book, I would be tearing it page from page into little pieces. You know, to be violent in your destruction would be to ravage something. And according to Iyer, the practices which are being followed today are ravaging the soil. They're completely destroying the soil. They're depleting it of all nutrients and whatever good properties the soil has, which give us good crops, right? So obviously, this is his aim. This is what he wanted to do from the outset. And when we read the chapter, you'll see how steadfast, how firm, how resolute he was in his aim and how he achieved that aim. But before we start, Rakshita is going to tell us a little bit about organic farming. She's done a little bit of research. So Rakshita, can you please enlighten us?
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
We will understand organic farming and we will also put it in context so as to why is organic farming something that we should prefer over all the other methods, as ma'am mentioned, the chemical methods that we have been using, widely using. Okay, so to understand organic farming, let's understand the meaning of the word organic. Organic can have two meanings. One being organic means living, and the other being organic means natural. So when I say organic farming, I mean to do farming by natural means. So I would not, put any other chemical substances in my soil, but I would take the best of what Mother Earth has to give, which would be earthworm, manure, and organically created fertilizer. Which would be what? Which would be all these vegetable peels and waste that we have that can be used to create manure. So why did we start doing chemical farming when organic farming was so nice? Because we wanted to produce more crop because our population was growing. So to feed that growing population, we develop methods so that more crop is produced. But in that bargain, what happened was that the soil was getting damaged. Also, the crop that is being produced with all these chemicals, insecticides, pesticides that we use, insecticides kill insects, pesticides kill pests. Basically, nothing should eat up the crop. Maximum crop should be produced. So what happens in the bargain is all that chemicals, when we eat it, when it gets absorbed by the crop, when the crop is growing. So when we eat it, it goes in our body and it is very harmful for our body. So it's not just harmful for the soil, it's harmful for us as a whole, as our entire society. So this step is a very positive step towards not just Mother Earth, but towards us and towards a far-sighted, sustainable living. So when he talks about organic farming, when he in the chapter you'll see he'll focus on not using any chemicals to produce his crops, but he'll also want to focus on what naturally grows on that land. Okay, so why is it important and why do we, why can we also approach this perspective with respect to the chemical and the, sort of more harmful perspective? Does anybody do you guys have any doubts regarding this?
No, I think Rakshita, you've done a great job.
Should we start with the reading?
Please, Hava.
Yes. So, the first crop. It was April 2004. I stood in the middle of the lush green field of Moong. Lush is rich, rich green field of Moong, and looked around me. It was just before sunrise and the sky was turning into bright orange. The ground was damp and the leaves were shining with dew. My bare feet were muddy and I walked around gingerly inspecting the plants. Gingerly is very cautiously. Rakshita.
Why was he cautious, guys? Why is he walking gingerly? Why is he walking cautiously? So as not to?
So that can I say?
Yes, yes, everybody can say. Just speak.
If there are earthworms so that they don't get killed or something?
Okay, what else?
so that he doesn't harm the plants.
Yes, so that he doesn't harm the plants also, right? Because sometimes they have various, they have taller things and they have shorter things growing between them. So you've got to be really careful when you walk so that you don't step on. Perfect. Thank you.
Around
Sorry.
Around me were rows of chiku trees, and below a dense foliage of moong. Foliage is basically the leaves or the tree of a plant, so the small plants that were growing. At that point, I could not have asked for anything more. The moong plants, not more than 2 feet tall, had green pods hanging out. The pods were not yet ripe, and there was a light fuzz growing on them. There was still some time before the harvest. I felt exhilarated. Exhilarated, we have done it in previous chapters, which means really very happy.
I stood watching the sun rise above the towering tree across the fence and slowly made my way back to the house, a white structure in the middle of this greenery. I could not believe that I was the owner of this land and that I was looking at my first crop as. Dasharman, can you please continue till I put the next
Yes,
page up?
certainly. That I was looking at my first crop as a farmer. After I had paid the advance money for the land, I thought I should have some time to get familiar with farming. The basket, please. But Moru Dada, the broker who got us the land, had other ideas. He was keen that we plant moong at once. I was not prepared for this. I was still reading books and trying to figure out what we could sow and how we should go about it. Moru Dada was quite firm. He said the season was right for sowing moong and the best seeds were available in Surat in the adjacent state of Gujarat. Adjacent state? What is adjacent? Opposite is opposite. Adjacent is by the side, right? Gujarat is adjacent to Maharashtra. Remember, please, he's in Maharashtra, right? Anything else there? He's still trying to figure out when you have a piece of land, you've got to see the climate, you've got to see the water supply, you've got to see the soil, and then you try to figure out what to grow, which is another sad thing which doesn't happen today. You just grow what you're going to get the most money for, you're probably not going to get a good crop, right? So when you take all these factors into consideration and make an informed decision, then hopefully you get the best crop possible, which is what Mr. Iyer was trying to do. Thank you, Hava.
I made a quick trip to Surat and bought around 10 kilograms of moong. So sorry. 10 kilograms of moong. Moru Dada rented his tractor to plug the land and quickly planted those moong all over the place.
A few days later, we were overjoyed to see tiny green leaves. I had never seen moong growing before and was thrilled at the sight. It was the small thrill. It was the same thrill I had felt as a young boy when I saw the first of the hibiscus I had planted bloom on the railway quarters in Ville Parle in Mumbai. So this tells us that he used to live in Ville Parle and his dad was probably working in railways. Also, I think we have also talked about hibiscus flowers in Little Women Wala chapter. So, you know, those beautiful, colorful flowers that we saw that Rashna had.
Gudhal,
Sorry?
Gudhal.
Yes.
Sorry?
In Hindi, they are called Gudhal. So I was grateful to have taken Moru's advice.
The next thing Moru Dada wanted to do was to spray some pesticide on the plants. He claimed that it would give a higher yield. This was something we did not want to do. We were clear that we would not use any chemical and tried to explain it to him. He reacted as he was suggested harakiri. Harakiri is basically a formal way of killing and cutting open stomach with a sword, like stabbing the stomach from between. It took a lot of convincing to ensure that Muru Dada and his friends did not use any chemical on the farm. They refused to understand how crops can grow without sprays because they were so used to the idea of planting, uh, growing plants with chemicals that organic farming was really hard to explain it to them.
Sorry, Hawa, I didn't understand the meaning
Yes.
of harakiri.
May I just? So harakiri is a Japanese form of committing suicide. Okay. Whereas as Hava says, you drive a dagger into your stomach. You do it to yourself. Okay. Nobody should do it to you. You drive the dagger into your stomach, or a sword or a dagger, and then you move it sideways in your abdomen so as to kill yourself. Okay. Now, usually harakiri is performed in Japan when there is a loss of face. Doesn't mean your face is lost. It means if you lose your honor for any reason. Okay, if you do something wrong and you're caught out, okay, or if you don't do your job well enough and then some disaster ensues, then the Japanese have this strange notion that they should kill themselves. So it's a traditional thing called harakiri, and it's very well known. It used to be very prevalent in their society in the time of the shoguns and all your kung fu movies and all that. I'm sure you guys must have seen it in some movie or the other, okay? But of course, I'm hopefully not today. So this harakiri word has been incorporated in the English language, as we know many words from other languages have been incorporated. Why would the yield be less if or the exact sentence is, it would give a higher yield. Use of pesticides would give a higher yield. Why?
Because then it would get saved from being eaten by the pests and the insects.
Exactly, Dilkush. Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Contrary to what everyone had told us, nature did her job and she needed no bribes. Bribe is basically rishwat. No bribes to get the work done. Soon it was harvest time and we managed a respectable 300 kilograms. An awful lot of moong and with it a lot of confidence. Now I was certain the land was fertile and that it was possible to grow crops without chemicals. It was a major morale booster. Morale is basically, so you know how you have feelings? Morale is sort of motivation to do something. So basically, morale booster, his morale was boosted. It means he was more motivated to do it. If you have a low morale, which means you don't really feel like doing anything. So not exactly as motivation, but more like a feeling to do something. So I have a high morale today. That means I'm really happy today. If I have a low morale today, I'm not feeling that great.
Nature needed no bribes. I'm sorry. Nature needed no bribes. What bribes? What bribes do we offer nature to get a bigger crop?
Pesticides and insecticides.
Yes, and fertilizers, right? And as you will see later in the chapter, using hybrid seeds. Correct. So, Hava, have you shifted? Yeah, the last two sentences were on the last page, but please, shall I read since I have the book?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. The scent of rice. The first year, I was late for the rice growing season and had to resort to growing the GR4 variety that was short term and recommended by the agricultural officers at Kosbag. You can continue, Hava. The next year,
We decided that would start early and try to find some good traditional variety of rice to grow. We had read about traditional varieties of rice and knew that they did not require very high inputs of fertilizers. These varieties were also quite strong and resisted pests. We were sure that it was this type of rice that would grow well in our farm where we did not use any chemicals at all. Our previous year's experience and low yield had taught us a lesson, and we were sure we would not plant hybrids this year.
So these seeds like GR4, they are hybrids, right? You know what a hybrid is? It's a mixture. When you genetically change the form of something, you get a hybrid. So these are not traditional seeds, but they are produced, they are engineered in a laboratory to create a new kind of seed. You see, he was late in sowing, so he had to go for the hybrid. The hybrids have a lot of advantages. Shorter growing season, very important. So the farmer can turn around 2 or 3 crops in a year. Resistant to pests, need less care or whatever, so that farmer can get out a bigger crop in a shorter period of time. Okay. Traditional varieties, he said he was too late because it's a longer growing season. Next paragraph, please.
Also, just to add to Rashna ma'am's point, in the last line he says that they had learnt a lesson. So they had learnt a lesson in the sense that once you grow, you less. So what happens is when I grow a particular crop, that crop also impacts my soil. So that crop will also work as natural fertilizer for the next crop if I'm growing it naturally. But if I grow a hybrid crop, the hybrid crop, rather than providing better results for the soil, all the nutrition that the crop has, it is used by the crop to grow itself. So if I grow a hybrid crop on my field, it becomes necessary that I use chemical fertilizers. That is how farmers get caught in this cycle. I am forced to use fertilizers because if I don't, there is no way I could naturally obtain what I usually obtain from my crop. So I'm forced to buy fertilizers. If I once apply fertilizers, then I would have to use them for a long time.
I
So
have a
that's
question, please. I'm
very-
sorry. I have a question, please. So he planted moong the first year and he planted rice the second year.
Yeah,
And
clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
No, you don't
It
think?
was one season. He planted moong, then moong was harvested. So after moong got harvested, the next crop, the next season for the crop, the next season is growing rice. So when he had to grow rice, it was the rice growing season. In the sense, it was the rainy season. And Maharashtra, as we know, has good rains. So mostly people prefer growing rice because it sells in good price. And secondly, the soil of Maharashtra, the soil texture that we have is good for growing rice. So after moong, you would immediately shift to growing rice. Now that he had to grow rice because it was the first time he was growing everything, so he was late in growing rice. But he had to make sure that the turn or the seasonal effect that a crop needs the time to grow, that should have remained same. So he needed some rice that could grow in a shorter period of time. So he had to take the hybrid.
which will deplete the soil of all its nutrients. All right.
Yeah, Rakshita is completely correct in this because it says he started in 2004, and in the next chapter, in the next paragraph, we see in April 2005 we started looking for a good variety. You're absolutely right, Rakshita. I completely missed that. Thank you. Please continue.
In April 2005, we started to look for a good variety of traditional rice. It was one of our neighbors in the village, a businessman from Mumbai who owned land, who suggested that we plant a local scented variety of rice. Most of the farmers in and around the village of Pate had switched over to hybrids. The younger generation of farmers thought I was crazy to ask for the Desi variety, as they called it. My regular visits to the villages and around searching for a good traditional variety also did not yield any results, and we were almost giving up hope. So, this paragraph really tells us that even if somebody wants to grow a traditional variety, all of us have so radically switched to hybrid crops. It's not easy to find the traditional variety anymore because it doesn't grow on the land that they have these days. So as he says, the old people had still seen it, but the younger generation found it almost crazy. Why would you grow something that is going to lead less products and less money?
I decided to give it one last try and spoke to Babin's father and some other elders. After many meaningful conversation, they mentioned the name of Kasbai. Kasbai,
Kasbai,
I'm sorry, can you? Yes, Akshita, please go ahead.
Kasbai is a traditional long green rice variety which has a distinct aroma, though much milder than basmati. It is a long duration crop, and most of the older people remembered growing it years ago. But they all shook their heads when I asked them about the seeds and told me that it had disappeared.
The tale of Kasbai made us more determined to get it. We decided that if we did manage to get some seeds, this would be a great rice to grow. I thought the government may know something about it. A visit to the agriculture office was enlightening. Enlightening is basically very knowledgeable, or like you get some sense of knowledge and certain happiness after that. He had not even heard of this rice variety. He said the villagers were taking me for a ride and there was no rice by.
This name. He rattled off the names of a number of latest hybrids and even offered to give me some of them free of cost for a trial. Cursing myself for wasting time with him, I moved on to the next destination. He rattled off the names. You don't just say them one after the other. Tuck, 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 tuck. He rattled off the names of the hybrids, of the seeds which the agricultural officer had, the seeds which the government was providing for the farmers. These are all the seeds he had. He rattled off the names and offered them to Mr. Iyer for planting. However, as we know, Mr. Iyer was least interested. Cursing myself for wasting my time, I moved on to my next destination. Please continue.
I just had to add something about enlightening. You remember how we used to have those meditation sessions in the beginning? And ma'am used to say, imagine that there's one light in front of you, and now you're moving closer to that light, and now everything is full of light. And we used to have it in the very beginning of our Pehchan training sessions. So basically, that is enlightening. It's basically essentially light. So enlightening, which is something which was not known to you before, is now become very clear because there is suddenly light on it.
Yeah, so to take that a point further, and since we have a lot of time, he's been enlightened, but in a very strange way.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, how has he been enlightened with his visit to this so-called agricultural officer, who's the person in the district who's supposed to know all about the best agricultural practices? So he goes to visit him, right, to ask for the kasbai or some traditional seeds, to ask his opinion on what traditional seeds he should plant. The man has no knowledge of this and only tries to push upon him hybrids, which are common knowledge, which everybody knows. So this is enlightening in a sarcastic way, I feel, that the person who is in charge of all this had absolutely no idea about organic farming or about what Mr. Iyer wanted to pursue. Okay, thank you. Continue.
This time it was the Adivasi Mahamandal at Kasa, which buys rice from the Adivasi villagers on behalf of the government. Kasbai did not figure in their files, a good indication why people did not grow it anymore. The market itself did not recognize the rice. So if you grew it, you would not be able to sell it. However, the officer in charge here had more knowledge of rice and did remember kasbai being sold to him a few years ago.
So when I went to Daniwari, Baban and I started looking for Devu Handa and found a graying old man wearing a cap sitting outside his house on a charpai, an ex-sarpanch of the village. He had acres of land, a huge house, and a large family. After exchanging the usual pleasantries, we came to the topic of Kasabai. The mere mention of Kasbai and Devu Handa drifted into past. His eyes turned dreamy. With a tremble in his voice, he told us how the entire village at one time grew only Kasbai. He said there was a time when people passing our village during lunchtime would be forced to stop and ask for a meal. Such was the alluring aroma of Kasbai. The entire area would have this heady aroma hanging in the air as all the house cooked the same rice. Today, he said, no one grew kasbai and everyone has shifted to growing the new hybrid varieties. He claimed he had to force himself to eat this rice that was so
Insipid.
insipid.
What is insipid, guys? What is insipid? Insipid is tasteless.
Something that lacks flavor.
Exactly, something that lacks flavor. You looked it up somewhere. Yes, it's tasteless basically. Okay, you know, a very good example is that it's so strange, but sometimes our little mangoes which we get from our village or which are growing in your village just outside your house on some random mango trees which your grandparent may have planted or just happen to be growing are sweet and yummy, though they may not look fabulous. And your fancy mangoes at 1,000 rupees a dozen in your fancy Bombay shops just aren't that tasty. Okay, so a lot of your new things which are hybrid and which are genetically engineered don't have that old fabulous taste that used to come from growing things naturally. They are insipid, tasteless in comparison to the original product which we used to get. So this is exactly kasbai. Why would people who are passing by feel, I mean, the need to stop if it was lunchtime? Because this fabulous aroma, right? Therefore, it's called the scent of rice, not scent as in a perfume, but as in an aroma, which comes when you're cooking something really lovely and you're just cooking good quality rice the correct way in steaming water, you get that excellent smell that comes out of the rice, correct? So that's what it is. Since we have time, girls, let's finish this page at least, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
With the advent of irrigation, farmers were tempted to grow a second crop, and kasbai, being a long duration rice, was replaced by the shorter duration hybrids so that the harvest could be done earlier. This ensured that the farmers could take up a second crop. So you see, with the advent of irrigation, by irrigation, because we all know the rains of Mumbai, right? So we get good rains in Maharashtra, which is one of the reasons why, you know, one of the benefits of being a farmer in Maharashtra. So now what happens is if I'm a farmer and if there are good rains going on for a longer duration, I would want to cultivate multiple crops so that, you know, I don't have to supply water from the outside. So it becomes very convenient if my crop grows in a shorter period of time. So that then I can come and cultivate one more crop of either the same rice or some other variety.
I asked why he had shifted if it was unhappy with the hybrids. No one forced him to, did they? He smiled and replied the fields did not have fences, and once the harvest was over, the cattle were released.
Rachna, you're
I'm
on.
so sorry, I was muted. Yeah. Yeah. The cattle were released into the fields. If my field alone had kasbai, it will be a treat for the cattle, he explained. Clear? Because kasbai had the super aroma. Kasbai is a better thing to eat. So the cattle would just run into their fields because they had no fences, and they would destroy his crop, leaving the other crops untouched because, of course, kasbai is just so much more tasty to eat. Okay, we're going to stop here because now we just have a very short amount left, which we're going to keep for next time. And we're just going to do two questions, and then we will close. Freyaz, and if you want 5-7 minutes with them, you can have it too.
Rashna, I know the meanings, but I don't know how to put it down in words. Please, can you help me define the words plow and morale?
Plow, P-L-O-U-G-H.
That's right, P-L-O-U-G.
Plow is to make furrows. You first turn the soil before you plant, right? And for that you have a plow. In India, it is you have bullocks usually who pull the plow, and you have the farmer behind who holds the plow in upright, so that it turns the soil A. Then it makes furrows in the soil, furrows from the sower poem, so that then the seeds can easily be put into the furrows for planting, right? In Hindi, it's hal chalana, which all kids know, because everybody's been to Gaon and it's very easy for them. Okay. Tarun boosted my morale, M-O-R-A-L-E, please, by trusting and motivating me. Yes, he did. And this is what I'm hoping, that in time to come, Rakshita and Haba will be running the class, and I will be here only to boost their morale, right? Like Swara and the other champions will be running Pehchan, and Freyaz will be smiling from South Carolina, boosting their morale. You're getting what I'm saying, guys? Yeah. So to be there, just like moral support, to give the guy a feeling of, oh, you're secure, and you know, so I've got your back. Just boosting morale. Okay.
Thank
and
you.
that was a perfect sentence, Mohammed. It's just the spelling, please. M-O-R-A-L-E. Thank you.
Ma'am, I had a doubt. Like,
Yes.
who is Baban in this?
Okay, because this is a chapter from a book, right? So we don't know who Baban is because he's probably been introduced in the chapters which have already gone. Yeah, so probably some villager or someone we don't know. He's probably already introduced him earlier. This is just one of the chapters he's pulled out from the book. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not at all.
Rashna ma'am, should I start with the questions?
They're just two, but they're a little descriptive. I want more than one sentence, please. And this is the reason why we read the introduction. Please, Hava, go ahead.
First question is, what is organic farming? How does it connect to the author's statement, ensure that at least that the land is not ravaged while they try to make a living out of agriculture? I will post it on the chat box so you can read it as well.
While she's typing, what is organic farming? Okay, so Rakshita gave you some important points. She's also going to put up a short note on organic farming for you so that you have it with you if you have not made notes, and when you discuss it with your mentee, it will be that much easier. And then, yes.
May I go ahead with the answer? Were you asking any question?
I beg your pardon, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, should I answer the question, organic farming?
Yes, yes, please do. By all means, you don't need that.
Organic farming basically means doing the farming with natural means and not using chemical pesticides or insecticides.
And fertilizers. Okay, and fertilizers. Yeah, please. Yeah. And okay, great. So how does it connect? Hava, what was that? Hava, can you repeat the second half of the question, please?
How does it connect to the author's statement, ensure at least that the land is not ravaged while they try to make a living out of agriculture?
Right. How do you connect it with this? See, they try to make a living out of agriculture. The farmers are not deliberately, I mean, their motive in using hybrids is not to poison the soil, to destruct and destroy the environment, to destroy the soil. Okay, that is not their motive. Their motive is to earn a living. All right, we all know that farmers are not the best of people. They Their life depends on the vagaries of the monsoon. They toil extremely hard for very low returns, right? So if there's any way that that man can make a little more money for himself and his family, he's definitely going to follow that route, right? And here are the hybrids which are giving you a guaranteed higher yield with less water, right? So that is why he tries to make a living out of agriculture, right? But if we could, so now try, if we could teach them ways of organic farming, if we could make organic farming efficient, if we could teach them how to use it so as to maximize their profits, then perhaps we could save the land and we could save them. This ravaging the land for the farmer is for today's gain, right? But 10 years down the line, that land is going to be uncultivable. He is not going to get anything out of it, no matter how much chemical he pumps into the land. So all this has to be explained to the farmers.
Also, Rashna, if when they put all this into the plant and into the soil, doesn't it, I read somewhere long time ago, it affects the groundwater, which then
Of
goes
course it does.
to,
Of course it does.
and
Yeah.
so then that's water that's coming to us.
It is. It is. You see, the chemicals enter the food chain, right? Because, I mean, all you guys who did biology know this better than me, that the chemicals enter the food chain. We eat the plants and stuff, the grain, whatever comes out of it. Cattle eat the grain that comes out of it. We eat the cattle if we are non-vegetarian. So it's entering the food chain, whether you're veg or non-veg, whatever. Then when it rains, all those fertilizer, the chemicals seep into the water. I mean, they dissolve the water, they seep into the soil, and they go into the water table, right? Which is the same water that we are pulling out in wells and using all over again. So it's entering the food chain, it's entering all of us and actually poisoning all of us in the long run. And on the other side, also not good for the farmer in the long run because it's ravaging the soil. And a few years down the line, he's not going to get anywhere close to the yield that he's getting today if we persist in these practices.
So to extend on Rashna ma'am's point, biomagnification is the name of the process. And it's a very beautiful word because it's, it actually brings out the drastic effect that it has. It's magnified in our bodies because we consume it from all dimensions. We are the ones growing the crop, we consume that crop. If you are a carnivore, then probably a cow or not cow, a chicken or a hen eats that crop and then you eat that chicken. So that is even more, in further more complex in the form of chemicals. So all those dangerous chemicals are further magnified, and we who are sitting on the top of the food chain, we have all those chemicals in our body at the end of the day.
True. Would anyone like to add anything, or can we go on with the second question? Second question?
Yes.
Please, Hawa.
Explain the title of the author's book, Moong Over Microchips.
Yeah, come on, that's an easy one, and we are not going to offer you any help. Come on, guys.
Ankita, why don't you try that?
Yes, ma'am. It means that he has left his IT industry job and is now, doing organic farming. So he is preferring microchips, that is IT industry, over Moong, that is organic farming.
He's preferring Moong over microchips.
Moong.
Yeah, and Pratiksha is like holding her head and saying, "Oh my God!" And I'm here just begging for my first job in IT, and this idiot has left it all. Yes. Who knows, Pratiksha? After 17 years, you may be also growing Moong.
Yeah, we don't know that.
Yeah. So great, guys. So the idea was that we read the majority of it and we just do these two background questions. So now we have our heads in order. And the next time we will just quickly finish reading the 1 3/4 page which is left. And we will go into the nitty-gritty of the exam type questions and stuff and the true or false and all the rubbish that we generally do after each time. So thank you very, very much for your attention. And I hope it goes well on Thursday. There's just one small little thing I want to say. On Friday, guys, we have for our Fun Friday, we have an engineer. And it was requested by the mentees of batch 2, requested that we have an engineer. So we have with great difficulty got him. It's quite a big shot. So, I mean, it's been a big deal for him to give us time. Now, those people who are doing TFI, particularly who are doing science, who are the people who need this talk, have a lecture up to 6 o'clock. But we are starting at 5:30. So I have requested some TFI kids to please request their teacher to close at 5:20 so that they can move to us at 5:30. So if you know that your kid is TFI, please request them on Friday to attend this. Okay, and once again impress upon them, you don't have to want to do science, you don't have to have a scientific bent of mind to attend anything that talks about science. You must. On Wednesday, I'm going to do this big time with Leonardo da Vinci, the left and right brain. Freyas, you're going to be in heaven. So
if I
yeah.
ever get the GK recordings, which I never get.
Yeah.
So
you're gonna love it. So please encourage them to attend this. Okay, we've got this guy with considerable difficulty. Thank you, guys. And now Freya's.
Rashna, so I think I have a small thing that may make you happy if this works out. Is I have been in talks with Abhik to see if all his TFI kids who are attending the science session can join on Friday. So they all get out at 5:20 and then they all connect to our Zoom.
Very happy. Very happy.
So that request has been made. So now let's see if they can make that happen, because we want to create these synergies. So at some point, even when they have certain classes, we can send some of our kids to those.
Amazing. I think that's great.
Yes, you and I.
Okay. Ajmer Pratiksha, I would request you to attend, because he's not going to speak only on engineering, but on allied careers, like IT in particular, and many things which may interest you or would be good for you to know anyway. So please do be there. Yeah. Thanks. Sorry, Freya, for interrupting.
No worries at all. Thank you. I loved today's chapter, and I think Rakshita, Hawa, thank you so much. I can see why Rashna feels she can start turning it over to you all. So thank you very much. And we really do get excited when we see you all take the lead, which allows us to then feel like, okay, retirement is here. All right, so I have nothing more to say about the chapter we've read today, but we have a couple of housekeeping matters, please, if you would allow us. We have an event coming up on September 6th. We don't want to tell you too much about it. We want a lot of it to remain a surprise. We would love it though. I love it. I don't know about everybody else. As each surprise unfolds, if you all can share the excitement, then we know that there's been some value that's been put into creating this, and then the team also, gets energized about it. But in order to get ready for September 6th, we're going to request a couple of things from you. Because it's going to happen on Zoom, and again, we can't promise you that so-and-so will attend who we've invited and so-and-so won't attend who's been invited, but we still want to be ready regardless of who is going to attend or not attend. So let's start with the first thing. Since it's on Zoom and not in the Casey College auditorium, we still have to present ourselves in a particular way. So number one, your Zoom display name needs to be your first name and your last name. The first alphabet of your first name needs to be capitalized, and the first letter of your last name needs to be capitalized. So for example, Jisha's is correct, Arushi's is set that way, Pratiksha's is set that way. But say Ananya would need to change hers. The A and the M would need to get capitalized. Ajmer would need to add his last name. Hawa, just for that one night, that A18144 would need to be removed, right? So we want everybody's username. We will need to help Rashna ma'am get her username to capital R, capital C, right? So we need everyone's username to be uniform. Secondly, everyone needs to add a display picture. In case your camera fails, in case your video fails, the display picture should be you in a Pehchan shirt with all our appropriate standards, right? If you have long hair, it's tied up, blah, 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 that same code. So everybody needs a display picture in your Pehchan shirt. In your black color Pehchan shirt if you're a leader, in your red or burgundy shirt if you are a senior. Exactly what you used to wear to leadership sessions. Exactly what you used to wear to leadership sessions. So that will be your display name and your display photo. Secondly, on September 6th, if you are a senior, or if you have a red shirt, you will wear the red shirt. If you had a black shirt at leadership, you will wear a black shirt. We will have 3 mentees who are going to be participating, and they will be given they will also be given Pehchan shirts. Okay, so this is for us. What we are going to wear means what you are going to wear, your display pictures and your display names. Since you're going to be speaking to your mentees on Thursday, we want you to help them change their Zoom display names as follows. Unlike you, who will have your first name and your last name, they will have only their first name, space, open bracket. If it's TFI, it will be TFI, close bracket. If it's Salam Bombay, it will be SB. And if it's night study, it will be YMCA. So Mohammed, since you're so good at changing names so fast, can you do the Hi, how are you, Auntie? We are so happy to see you.
She's never seen a Zoom thing happening, so she wants to have it. So
we are so happy to see you, and we're happy that you popped on to say hi to us. That's Rashna's mom, everybody. That's Rashna's mom. So it's a family affair. Pehchan is a family affair, I tell you. So, all right. So Mohammed, can you help me out, please? On your username, keep Mohammed, remove Khan, open bracket, put TFI, close bracket. So everybody sees what that needs to look like. So your mentees will keep their first name, space, open bracket. Yes, see how Mohammed has done it? All your TFI kids display will look like this. Your Salam Bombay, instead of TFI, will be SB. And your night study, instead of NS, will be YMCA, So they'll only have 3 options, SB, TFI, YMCA. And only their first name. Let me explain the rationale behind why we are doing it. Thank you. See how YMCA looks? Mohammed has done that. Right? This is how every space matters, okay? Because we want it all to look clean and uniform. Let me tell you the reason we're having them put TFI, YMCA, SB, because we will have people from Salam Bombay log on. We will have people from TFI log on. Our kids come from different schools. So your senior people at TFI may not know that this is a TFI kid. So if one of the TFI kids starts talking, it would be nice for the seniors to know, oh, that's one of ours. Understand what we're trying to say? So we want their display names to be changed like this. Secondly, all of them are supposed to also put a display picture. Okay, also put a display, means a photo of themselves. No like picture of a moon or a finger, all these bakwas other photos that keep going up. All right. And whatever display picture they choose to put up of themselves, look, I am not looking for fashionistas and these kids with ripped jeans, and I'm not into all of that. It just yes, it needs to be a proper headshot, their hair tied back, because I have a thing about that, and a well presented picture. I don't understood what I'm trying to say, right? So on Thursday, please help your kids get this in order. Please get your display name in order, and please get your display picture in order. There's so much excitement about this. I got to tell you, your seniors have been working so hard, and they are so excited for you. That when we have live Pehchan, I'm gonna make you all do something for them. So they can rest and enjoy what you do for them. But they've really gone above and beyond, and we're super excited to bring this to you on the 6th. Yeah, so this is what we need you to help us prepare. You also, this is the last, so first is your display name and picture, your mentee's display name and picture, and here's the last thing. Your parents, please check that they have received our invite. Please clear their calendars and please make them attend on the 6th. It's only 1 hour. We are not asking for more than an hour. We promise you they'll be done in an hour. All right? That getting your mom and dad on the call is your responsibility. No, this chat is not the right place to tell me that it's not been received. All right? Because once this call is over, guess what happens? The chat goes away. There's no way of remembering it. Now, if they've received it, great. We want to make sure we've got someone who's not received it, then we need to know. We need to know, please. All right? But even if they've not received it, you are us. You can invite them, right? You can make sure they are present. Even our leaders whose moms and dads don't understand too much English or whatever, we will have enough English and enough Hindi where even they will be able to connect with us. So let's get even their parents connected. Ajmer's mom, Razveen's dad, like help your alumni leaders and change makers get their parents connected as well. Right? The script will moderate between the 2 languages to accommodate the full audience. And if you're not excited, you're losing out. You're losing out. All right? Swara's like, ma'am. All right. So anybody have any questions about the 6th or anything else? Anything else? All right. Superb, superb, superb. All right. I'm not telling you anything else right now. Next Monday, I'll tell you more. Yes, Ananya.
Rakshita has a question. She's trying to.
Has a question. Yes, Rakshita, your question, please.
Ma'am, would it be okay if our parents join with us, like on the same device? Would it be okay if our parents are like sitting with us for the session?
Think that much ahead, actually, to be very honest with you. Didn't think that much ahead, but right now my immediate answer is I don't see why not, but please may I speak to the senior team that's planning everything and revert with a final answer on that, because I don't want to take anything away from them. They've been putting thought into every little decision. Yeah. But thank you for the question, Rakshita. It helps us think through something a little more clearly. Keisha, we need to just inform Rashna that Ketki meeting is on Thursday. Rashna, that our meeting with Ketki is on Thursday.
I will speak to her and figure out her.
Perfect. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. We are so excited. And please, I'm going to be really mean about this. Every few days, I'm going to send you some other suspense type of thing. And I'm going to just enjoy it all the way till the 6th. Get your parents to reply that they are attending. Please get your parents to reply. And even if they haven't replied by the 6th, put them on the phone. Put them on the phone. All right? That means, listen, for all my kids who drive me crazy, get Zoom downloaded on your parents' phones or laptops. Get a user ID for them. Get them to understand how Zoom works. Afterwards, don't say, ma'am, that's not acceptable. All right? All right, get excited about this. Let this momentum start going and help your alumni, change makers, and leaders do this. All right? Cool. Have the best evening. I'm going to have the best day. In fact, now I'm going to the next meeting to do with the 6th. I just stay on a perpetual high, I swear. Because this is, from 7 o'clock in the morning, this is all I've been doing. I did that, and now we did this, and now I'm going for the next one. So we love you so much. You know, Rashna talks about how excited and how moved we are that all of you, even though college has started and all of this stuff, you all still connect with us and you all still connect with your mentees, and how much that means to us. It really does mean a lot. And because you all are excited and because you all are motivated, we get excited and we get motivated and we are excited to do what we do. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. I echo all of Rashna's sentiments that she started out with. Have the best evening. Go to bed early. That's never going to matter how many times I say it, but go to bed early. Have the best evening, and I will see you for sure next Monday. Those of you who connect on Friday, I'll see you on Friday.